All right, thank you for tuning back in. The last video kind of stopped on this slide where we talked about the process up until this point, and now we're going to jump into kind of the proposals and where we are. So one of the last pieces that we had back in March was our community input session that really has driven what's the proposal that we're putting forth now. In that, we had 64 total people respond. We probably had 70 to 80 total people that day come out to these info sessions and give us feedback. You can see in these pictures we had all the proposals stacked up, and then sticky notes were put on there with things they don't like, and then green sticky notes for things that people did like. We took all that feedback, and that's linked on our website to combine and pick one proposal. We also had a survey that was given out that said, "Hey, which do you prefer? Which one of these proposals do you prefer?" Which included everything, and then we kind of went forward with the one that had the most community backing at that point. Um, so what are our big priorities in each one of these proposals? There's really three things, and one is above both of them or the rest of them. Enhance safety and security. That is number one by far. In every lens, we know that we need to have our students coming here knowing that this is a safe place and that they feel safe being at. If we don't meet that minimum need for every student, we can't have education take place in these walls. So we have to make sure that we're meeting that. And that was the first priority lens that we had. And then the other two are improve our academic spaces and then repair our building infrastructure. We have some old buildings in this district, and they're great buildings, and we want to maintain those buildings so they remain great buildings moving forward. The fact that we still have a high school from 1964 and it still functions very well, and we've upkept it this well, I think speaks a lot to the maintenance and the crew that we've had taking care of these buildings for the last 60 years. But we want to make sure that we're keeping that at the forefront so we can continue to use these spaces long term. And are there ways to better utilize our spaces so that we're meeting the needs of our students and our staffs and our community better? And that's really what's ultimately guiding us. So I'll walk through each proposed solution, and then I'll probably stop the video after we finish all these solutions. So the biggest amount of focus is definitely the middle and the high school, where the high school was made in 1964 and our middle school was made in 1981. And they're in pretty good in terms of upkeep, in pretty good shape. They've been maintained really well, but when you have something from 1964 and 1981, they can become outdated, and they need some bigger help at times. So one, and the biggest thing is really connecting these buildings so that we don't have students having to cross an open parking lot throughout the day between periods, walking in and out of doors for a safety reason of making sure our doors are locked and stay secure. We don't have kids that have to wander outside through that during the winter. We're not walking over ice. We're not pushing food. Right now, we serve our middle school lunch and breakfast over here in the middle school. We're not pushing food across this outside daily. Our teachers aren't walking there. Our middle school students and high school students aren't having to cross this for their classes, but we have a safe way to commute. And then two, our entries. We really want to have a secure entry in place where you're not only buzzed into the building, but once you're buzzed in, after we can see you via our buzzer system, you then can only walk into the office, and then we can have a visual, and then our secretary can sign that person in and issue a visitor pass. Right now, that is not the case in the middle school or the high school by any means. Once someone is buzzed in, they would then be able to walk wherever they wanted once we get buzzed. And we really don't have a very good line of sight from our middle school office here. You can't see the front door from this point, and the same thing would be true in our high school office over here. So really making one secure entrance that serves both schools, and we can have that work and function appropriately. So then three, we have a phenomenal band program. If you all don't know that, I'm sure you do if you're watching this video, and a phenomenal choir that's really grown a lot in the years. Both of these rooms that they're currently in are very undersized and not appropriately made for what they're doing. So our choir is currently in a classroom, and our band is currently in this room back here, which cannot adequately house the size of the band that we have. One from a noise level, and two from just a sheer seat level. So what we would want to do is the only way to find a better space for this, and the only space that would be big enough would be our gymnasium, our current gymnasium. So we could, in this proposal, convert one side of our gymnasium into the band room with its practice rooms, and the other side can be converted into a multi-purpose performance and cafeteria space. So this would be big enough to house an entire school lunch. So all of the high school students could eat lunch in this, all of the middle school students could eat lunch in this room, and also you could have seating that would come out to give us a fair amount of seating for any performances while we slightly expand this stage to accommodate the full band as well. So this could be used for the community and for our school and classes for any sort of performance spaces. 4, if we're taking over this space for the gym, we would replace it kind of in this space between this connecting piece where we could also have our bathrooms here as well with this gymnasium space and have these be ADA compliant versus renovating other bathrooms within our space. We could build those for a lot cheaper building new than renovating. 5 is the fitness center. That was noted a bunch in our community feedback sessions. Having a space large enough to house at least a class and large enough for our community to enjoy, but also being upfront where people could easily access it. Yeah, and having parking there, having good lighting and a secure entrance there. Not truly secure in that sense that you're buzzed in, but a fobbed type of entrance for community members to get in, and it's locked down from the school side. 6 would be expanding our kitchen and moving it out of this tech room that we have. We have all of our servers in a room with the kitchen, but expanding this so that it could appropriately accommodate both middle school and high school lunches and cooked food for the entire district still. And most of the equipment in here is actually from 1964 yet. We did sell some ovens last year that were from 1964 and bought new ovens for the first time in 60 years. And our fridge is still a wooden outside fridge that is from 1964, and a number of other pieces of equipment are still from 1964. 7 would be moving the wood shop back to our auto shop, which is currently this tech ed wing, and now we could have one congruent tech ed wing. So again, we're not having to move students and teachers back and forth, but everything could be together, and we could still do our small engines class and house all of our woods in this area. 8 would be expanding the library to house both middle school and high school libraries, making them ADA accessible as well. 9 is just general building-wide capital maintenance that we need and we know that we need to have done. Again, we're on a state where we have a number of HVAC components that are now 24 years old from our last renovation in 1999 that are beginning to fail, and some things as well with our electrical and another plumbing notes that are original to 1964 or 1981 in both buildings. And then 10, just improving traffic flow so we can have a bus turnoff, we can have visitor parking here, and then something that came up a ton in the community sessions was having adequate parking in both of these sessions. So not losing parking since we're losing this parking kind of in the middle for this connection, but making sure we still have adequate parking here. So that is the first solution. I might pause there so I don't make this too long.